right, friends, I want to be mindful of everyone's time, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you so much for being with us here from wherever in the world you are. My name is Danya Torp. I am the program manager of membership engagement and communications for Head Start West, and I am really just here to make sure that the Zoom room doesn't explode around us. If you have any questions throughout our hour together, please feel free to send me a chat, and I will do my best to help you out. We are joined today by our lovely facilitator, Dr. Timi Jorgensen, who is the Assistant Vice President of Financial Education and Wellbeing for the American College of Financial Services. She is incredibly knowledgeable, incredibly generous with her time and her information, and also just an incredibly kind person. So we're very lucky to have her here with us today. On your screen, we have a QR code for our next 4 sessions, so we hope you'll join us for those, and I'll also post a link when we get close to the end today. But with that, I am going to hand it over to Timi, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So again, thank you so much for being here, everyone.
Thank you so much, Tanya, for having me, and hello to all of you lovely folks around the country. We are going to go ahead and get started with an opportunity to register for the Know Yourself, Grow Your Wealth course. So I'm going to drop the link in. Let me make sure I copy the right link. And I'll drop it in the chat. And if you have not yet registered for this course, you can go ahead and click it, start your registration. Let me focus for 2 seconds. I don't know if you guys are like this, but I am uh, liable to click the wrong link from the master spreadsheet. So I am going to pop this in here. Okay. You should be able to click that link from the chat and register for Know Yourself, Grow Your Wealth, which is a financial education and wellness course. It's online, it's self-paced. You can do it from the comfort of your phone or your tablet or on your laptop, anywhere that you want to learn more about yourself and your money. We are going to dive in today with financial wellness, which is kind of the foundation of this entire course. So I also wanted to provide this link to you. Under organization, you're going to choose Head Start West when you register for this. If you haven't registered, if you already have registered, it should just bump you over and you can just say sign in. So that I guess is a good place to start. So Know Yourself, Grow Your Wealth is kind of my the culmination of a lot of years of me really wanting to create a financial education experience that both taught me things that I knew I needed to be acquainted with, but also acknowledged that I was a person who was both intelligent and also living in reality. So I wasn't making poor decisions. I was making uh, important decisions with limited resources, and I was really just trying to do the best that I could. And I had experienced several different financial education experiences where I felt like I was being shamed for what I had done in the past, even if I didn't know any better, or I felt like I was being talked down to, or I can't believe you don't know this. And I really wanted to kind of get away from those kinds of experiences for adult learners. So I'm going to walk you through a little bit of just kind of the background of and the baseline of how I think about financial wellness and how we thought about financial wellness from the perspective of building this Know Yourself, Grow Your Wealth experience. So I am going to share my screen. Sorry that I am. It is Tuesday, but man, it feels like Monday to me. It has been um, and I'm going to be looking a little bit off center because my other screen is where my presentation is. So, okay. Okay. Okay, you good? Can see my cute little puppy? No?
Yes, it just
Yes.
popped up.
Okay. Okay. All right. So we're gonna start this, and I call this a workshop because I really do want you to uh, take notes, have something to write on, or like a Word doc open or notes app on your phone or whatever, because I want you to kind of take some time to like jot down your ideas, your feelings, your thoughts as we go through this content. So, um, we're going to start with a little activity. I call this my miracle activity. We're going to go through this kind of reality check of like resetting the expectation around financial stress and understanding like what's normal, what's problematic, what's healthy. Um, we're going to look at the big stressful secret of Americans, at the health and wealth cycle, and then we're going to have some time to really workshop together. And so you're going to have an opportunity to share whatever you feel comfortable sharing. Um, and before we get into that, just so you're not concerned, we're not really sharing any sensitive information with each other, and you absolutely do not have to share anything if you don't feel like sharing. Um, but this does give you an opportunity to talk about the way you're feeling about money or the stressors that you're facing or um, your hopes and dreams about where you want to go with your financial situation. So no pressure. Uh, this will be very high level, and you don't need like a calculator or any of your latest financial statements in order to participate. This is really just, we just need you and all of the genius you already come with. All right, so I want you to close your eyes um, and walk through this miracle exercise with me. So close your eyes and imagine that will bring to the forefront of your mind the thing that you are most stressed about with your money, kind of the big thing right now financially in your life. And um, this is something that you've rolled it around lots of different ways. It's not something that you can immediately fix, but it is something that is on your mind regularly. And um, so just kind of keep that at the front of your mind. Now, imagine tonight you do your whole routine, get everybody down for bed if you're a mom, or run all the errands you need to run, make sure you've done all of the things, and then when you go to sleep, um, this this stressful financial situation is resolved. And it doesn't really matter how it's resolved, but when you wake up tomorrow, you immediately know this is no longer an issue. It's been taken care of. And I want you to think, what are you going to do with your day now that this is no longer a stressor that you're going to be dealing with? Let's pretend, for the sake of argument, that we're thinking about this on a Friday. So tomorrow is Saturday. You don't have work, you have some free time. So I want you to drop in the chat, what are you going to do with your day, your first Saturday, without this financial stressor? So if you've got some ideas, the things that you feel like comfortable sharing, you can drop them in the chat and we'll kind of peek at them. All right. Spend time with family, quilting, oh, travel, go on a hike, read, garden, golf, spa day. These are all fantastic. Okay. Whatever your answer was, um, just breathe and relax. That's a great one, Lisa. Uh, I would say more than half of these are free activities. They're things you can do even if this financial stressor isn't resolved. You could still pamper yourself at home for a very affordable price, using things you already have around and just kind of set up time and space for yourself. You can just breathe and relax. Yeah, I'm with you, Sandra. I would love to just go shopping if I knew that I didn't have to save up for that thing that I need to be working on. Um, So all enjoying family, spending more time with family, taking your children on a nature hike, reading, a lot of these are things that we can do without having to have financial freedom necessarily. So that's one of the first things that I wanted us to be able to experience together is um, we let financial stress keep us from doing things that will help us feel better, free things that will help us feel better, which is it's so unfortunate, but it's absolutely real. We do this in a lot of ways. Um, so I'm going to talk about when we get clarity around this. So you would hope that this miracle situation that kind of puts everything in perspective and allows you to focus on the things that are going to be like the most important to you would be a miracle. Most of the time, it's not a miracle. And I know the majority of you that are on this call will be able to relate to this. The things that actually kind of realign your um, sense of what's super important, what's really critical in your life, are more frequently tragedies. They're the things that kind of stop you in your tracks and make you reassess what's really worth giving your time and energy to. And for me, um, the moment that this happened with the most um, kind of the biggest experience that I had was in 2018, I lost my brother, who was a police officer, which is why this is a police dog and police lights. And he passed away, he was 36, and it was completely unexpected. Um, Died by gunshot. And it was like all the noise stopped, right? Like everything in life just stopped. And all of these things that I had been fretting over, all of these little um financial stressors, I just was like, oh my gosh, these are not important. These are not things that I want to give my time or energy to. These are not things that even deserve me thinking about them as much as I have been. And I need to be doing more of the things that I really want to be doing with my life. Um, Beyond this being a tragedy for me personally, behind a lot of what was going on in my brother's life, was a lot of financial stress. And I find myself still 8 years later, wishing that I could have had more candid, real conversations with him and more real conversations about um, not not putting identity so closely connected with financial standing and being able to separate the facts of I am a full, awesome human being from this is my current financial situation, because the two are not the same thing at all. And so that point of clarity is important as you go into financial wellness, because the closer you think those two things are connected, the more impact your finances are going to have on your own wellness. So this is no surprise to anybody here. The number one stressor for Americans, this is going on 30 years in a row of this study done by the American Psychological Association. Money is the number one stressor for Americans. Money is the number one reason for divorce. Money is the number one non mental illness related cause for suicide. It is a huge problem in our country that financial stress is kind of underpinning a lot of these, they call them deaths of hopelessness. I think that's the term that they use. But this is this wildly multi-armed monster is stress, and it is really damaging for Americans. So we're going to talk about what happens um, when you're experiencing financial stress in particular, because that's kind of where we can talk a little bit more in depth and where we can offer some more solutions. And this is true. I want you to think about this for yourself because you're here, and I would love for you to be able to take this experience and apply it to your own life, but also um, be thinking kind of in the back of your mind about the families that you serve and the communities that you live and how you could offer this insight and open some conversations with those families and those people around topics that have to do with financial stress without prying, without expecting any personal information to come, without any expectation that you're going to be able to answer their specific financial questions. It's just good to have a space to share. So, Financial stress leads to emotional and mental symptoms. So this is anytime you're experiencing stress, you've got this literal chemical response happening in your body. Your muscles get tighter. You're ready to kind of fight or flight. You've heard this so many times, but that low level exposure to stress causes inflammation. It causes inflammation causes all sorts of issues in your body. That also causes insulin resistance. And so those two things just by themselves, inflammation and insulin resistance, um, start you down this pathway that leads to lots of physical symptoms, reduced productivity. You just generally don't feel well when you're low level stressed all the time. Um, if you have reduced productivity, you're very likely going to experience some instability in your income, missing days of work, having to go to the doctor more often, which leads to increased financial burden because you're having to take time out of your day to go to the doctor. More financial stress. It's just this cycle that can really feed itself. I'm going to just put this up here. The stress stories around money they're wide, they're vast, they're varied, but I put this up here because I want you to see it's not about how much money you have or don't have. I have heard stress finance stories from people who are millionaires, from people who are living on government benefits, and everybody in between. People living out of their car to people who are living in a mansion, and they will still be experiencing this. I'm not doing enough. Um, we have so much debt. Everybody thinks we're doing really well. My family has no idea how stressful my life is when it comes to money. Just all there is financial stress is kind of a ubiquitous, it's a universal situation that like everybody can relate with. So we're going to talk real quickly about physical, like these are actual physical consequences of holding this kind of financial stress. I'm going to bump through this really quick because I don't want you to focus too much on it. What I want to do in this section is I want to draw this attention that this is real. So the choice to let go of financial stress is something you can choose to do, but I want you to recognize that your body is telling you something about holding stress, and it may not be about money necessarily, but everything in life has a price tag. And so it usually money comes up as a way that we can focus on a problem because there's a real cost. I want you to think about the physical cost of some of these things when you have this ongoing stress. Depression and anxiety, significantly higher for people experiencing financial stress. Elevated blood pressure and increased risk of heart attack. This is another, if you're experiencing low level stress in your life. Migraines and ulcers are far more common for people who report financial stress. Disrupted sleep and substance abuse. So this is the average cost of financial stress for an American adult in a year, $8,000 to $30,000 to address depression, anxiety, sleep disruptance, any of these things that we just talked about, being sore, having to go to the doctor, whatever it is. So sedentary lifestyles are the leading cause of illness. A lot of this is we work at a desk, we sit in our chair, we think about things that are stressful, and we don't have an opportunity to kind of move through the problem, think about the problem, solve the problem. So there is a real cost to being ill, to being stressed. So thinking about that. If we replace financial stress and financial illness with financial confidence and satisfaction, we start to build emotional and mental resilience. That in turn reduces inflammation in our body, improves our body's physical responses to things like insulin production and insulin sensitivity. We have increased physical health, improved stamina, increased productivity, more stable income, increased financial security, which again reinforces that we're confident, we're stable, we're happy. So this is where we can really start our intervention. We want to disrupt this cycle of feeling stressed, and we want to replace it with feeling confident and feeling satisfied with what we're doing today. annual savings of wellness. So of that expense, that eight to $30,000 of the cost of illness in a year, you can decrease that cost anywhere from $5,000 to $20,000, which means you're paying a normal copay for health across the span of a year. So you can pay for health or you can pay for wellness. Um, Health is much more affordable. I think I am writing on this and I am not meaning to. So sorry if you see some scratches across the screen. Um, we're going to talk about how do we practice financial wellness. And number one is we're going to tell the whole story, including all of the gory details. So when you talk, either sharing your story with another person or with yourself when you're thinking about a situation, I want you to include all the details. If you say, I always overspend when we go out to eat, I want you to tell the whole story, including all the details. We go out to eat late at night. Nobody has had anything to eat yet. I haven't gone grocery shopping and I haven't connected with my family. Well, if you go late at night, you already exhausted the extent of how much you can expect your brain to do for a day. You have a limit on your mental capacity. If you're hungry, you will spend more money on food. That's just a thing that is a known connection. If you are trying to be a caretaker and you go with other people and you're generous by nature, you're kind of stacking all these things against yourself and then feeling upset when you behave in a totally rational way, given all the constraints. So tell the whole story and include all the details because the details are important. Validate and acknowledge the circumstances and your choices. So own what's yours to own, but also recognize the situation and the situational cues and give them their space. Take note of triggers and decide your next time. So if you don't enjoy the outcome of that situation, what are you going to do to either change the circumstances or change your choice? And what are you going to choose before that situation arises again? So here's an example. I used to feel very frustrated that we went out to eat every Thursday. And I was like, I don't put it in my budget. I overspend on eating out every Thursday. But Thursdays are my long day at work. They're the day my kids have to stay after school. And by the time I go to pick them up, the thought of going home, unloading the car with all the kids, then making dinner when it's already like 6:30 or 7 at night was too much. So we would always pick the kids up, go to Chick-fil-A, come home. It was just so much easier. So rather than expecting that I was going to have the energy to change my behavior, I just changed my expectation and put it in the budget. That is now part of the budget. I don't need to buy groceries for that night because we're going to go out to eat. That's just what we're going to do. You could do either one. It's not a good or bad choice to make either decision, but um, I just wasn't carrying any stress about that situation anymore. I could just say, like, it's okay. It's an okay situation. Okay. I'm gonna stop sharing real quick. We are just about at 30 minutes. Okay. And we're gonna start an activity here where I'm gonna write it in the chat so we can have it here. Um, we're gonna identify uh, a pain point. I'm gonna write this in here. Okay. And in that financial pain point, we're gonna take note of three things, which is your circumstances, plus your choices, plus your lens. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to identify a financial pain point. So that thing that you brought to your mind, that could be it. It could be something else that you're like, oh, I've been meaning to start saving for my retirement for 5 years and I never just do it. I never just open the account and start, or I never just like contribute. It could be I really have to stop shopping on Shein because it's a problem. Whatever it is. I'm just naming some things. Not like I personally know that one. Um, and then we're gonna talk through it. So you're gonna identify um I'm writing this in here, sorry. We're gonna answer a few questions. What financial circumstances cause you stress or anxiety? What financial choices are you making that don't align with your goals or values? And then the last one is I feel financial guilt or shame about. And you're going to fill in the blank. Okay, this is in there so you can take a look at it. I'm dropping these in because I want you to have a chance to copy and put them someplace else before we um, dive into breakup rooms. Um, we are gonna. I was gonna just do one breakup room and have you do it all together, but if it's okay, um, I think we could divide into maybe 4 breakout rooms, and you can identify a financial pain point, talk about it, and then I want you to just do one small step for each of these. So um, I'm going to drop in the next part. I wish I would have had this. It's like a whole workbook, but I don't have a PDF version of it. But I'll send one to Danya, and she can send it out to you so you can have it for this. Um, so the second part while you're in the group is small steps. So um, we're gonna say, I recognize I am not responsible. Oh, geez. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay. All right. So these are the small steps. Um, thank you for being patient with me. All right, we're gonna do these small steps. I After you've written down your pain points, I want you to say, I recognize I'm not responsible for these circumstances. So I want you to call out some circumstances that are outside of your control, things that are part of real life that you have to work around, but are things that you are not going to be able to change. Then I want you to take note of 2 things that are choices you're making or things that you can change. And what are those 2 small things? And by small, I mean like micro. This could be I'm going to pin my banking app to my home screen so that I can check my balance more easily and not overdraft my card. Something as simple as that. Like I want these to be micro, something you can accomplish pretty quickly and easily without a ton of effort. Um, I will use this word as a filter for my financial thoughts. So uh, but I do this about every 6 weeks and I put a new word up and try and like focus on it. I love to do gratitude. That's one of my favorite words to use as a financial filter is to just pause and take a moment and feel grateful for the things that I already have. Um, More often lately, I've been using the word steady, just so that I am not impulsive, just to try and be consistent and that I don't have to try and change the world today. I can just be consistent with the stick to the plan. And then I'm going to prioritize my financial health this week by, and I want you to just write again one very small thing you can do this week to help prioritize your own financial health. And think about this in from the lens of like self-care. What are you going to do to make sure that financially you're healthy and you're taking care of your own kind of circle of financial health? So we're going to break out into groups. I want you to think about these things, share whatever you feel comfortable with. Um, and then we're going to come back together and we're going to have an opportunity to kind of share as a larger group. You're going to have 5 minutes to go through your pain points and your small steps, and then we'll come back together. I don't know what all of your roles are in your within the Head Start universe, but I imagine you interact regularly with um, families and educators and administrators who are experiencing the same kinds of stress that you're experiencing and the same types of concerns that you're experiencing. So I invite you to create opportunities for people to kind of like voice some of these stressors and um, have more opportunity to experience some empathy with another human who says, like, man, I get it. Like, it's tough. But also, you're doing better than you think you are. 100%, I guarantee you all are doing so much better than you think you are. Um, so recognizing too, when you step back and look at all of the millions of decisions you're making and the weight of the life that you're carrying and you're creating, you are doing a lot with a very finite amount of resources. And so recognizing that like you are a master at resource allocation. So you can very likely, I bet any woman on this call can squeeze a nickel and make a dime come out. So you're doing awesome things. And it's the same for all those families that you're serving, all these communities that you're serving, all these households. Just really good people doing their best to try and make things work out. And I think that's my favorite takeaway on the financial wellness side is that just like financial stress has this kind of its its power really is in silence. It grows in silence. When we feel this stress and we don't talk about it, we don't share it, we don't release it, it really compounds and we feel the weight of this stress over time. You don't have to unload your whole financial situation on somebody, but just being able to like a little bit of release to say like this is hard. Like this is really hard. And like I'm smart. I'm working hard. I'm full-time employed. I'm doing my best. Like we're doing everything we know how to do and it's still hard. Just acknowledging that for yourself, for other people goes a long ways toward building resilience for people to feel like, okay, it's not supposed to be easy. I didn't miss a clue somewhere. Everybody else doesn't have it all figured out, and I'm just the dumb one, you know? Um, so there's this incredible, sometimes untapped potential for financial empathy to kind of open doors and create community, especially in the communities that we serve through Head Start, through like these families are just, man, workhorse families. This is like what America is all about. These are the communities that make America incredible. Not great, not again, today. Amazing currently, right now. This is a lot of hard work, a lot of heart that goes into these families and these households. So thank you so much for coming to this. And I am so grateful for your willingness to participate and to have this experience. And I hope that this gives you some little kind of takeaway that you can take this over to your little circle of influence and offer some wellness and some opportunity to relieve some financial stress to those that are in your workplace, in your home, in your, community. And yeah, we will be having some more sessions. They will not be as interactive as this one was. We are going to be doing more on um, specific topics kind of going forward. So we will be doing more on like the nuts and bolts and how to actually implement things moving forward. But this is my favorite one to start with because it really does require the most flexing on being brave and vulnerable. So thanks for hanging in there, and I hope y'all have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday afternoon, evening.